All praises, thanks, and adoration is due to Allah Azza wa Jalla, the first without any beginning and the last without any point of termination. We give thanks to Him for giving us yet another opportunity to witness another day in the month of Ramadan, day 13 of the month of Ramadan. Now it's time for us to join the mashallah sisters talking about tea at Sahur. You'll be meeting Ajia Balkis and Ajia Miriam and Ajia Miriam. And today they're looking at finding a right spouse. Finding the right spouse. How do you go about it? From the female perspectives, mashallah, talking about how to get that partner that will be blissful, that will give you that succor that you need. Bismillah, my mashallah sisters.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah viewers. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Tea at Sahur. Today we will be discussing how to find a husband, or how do you find a husband?
Spouse.
How do you find a spouse? So it could be a husband, well, because we're talking about women. How do you find a husband?
I don't know why I find this particular topic funny.
You're mischievous.
Yeah.
So today we'll discuss how choosing the right husband.
Yeah. Wait, do we think that's a better way? Do we actually choose this husband?
Or picking the right husband, the right partner.
Them? Do we?
Sometimes.
Yes, now.
Picking the right partner. So,
Okay.
Mariam Thalban, you've got nuggets.
First.
Let's hear them.
Actually, in choosing or picking or finding, because I see that you keep asking, do we actually choose? Do we pick? Because ultimately, it depends on the color. You understand? However, we still choose. Because you would have options, you would have choices, whether you like it or not. And then the ultimate choice is that I don't even want a husband, maybe if you're unable to find any. So we choose, we pick, and we search. Yeah, sometimes many, sometimes just little, and sometimes just, a handful.
So what's the first step when you
The
find
first step,
when you're
I
searching for a
believe,
spouse?
is that you should pray way beforehand. If you have a
Listen
daughter,
to therapists or psychologists, Mariam Thalban right now, guys.
This because this was a huge part of our growing up. Once we clocked teenage years, we were like 14 when my daddy first gave us the dua for Eve, as in he told us specifically. It is very important because these are life choices. The person you want to spend the rest of your life with, although things might not work the way you want them to, but then the first thing we are set upon is making the right choice. And one of the dua that is well answered, according to a hadith, is that the one you have been, you pray over consistently, and then the one you've been doing for long. So my daddy told us then, we were just like 13 or 14 years old, and he told us, he wrote it. I still have the book where he wrote it for us. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa zurriyatina qurratan a'yunin lil muttaqina imama. Because it is very important. He knew the importance of the right spouse and then righteous children. People that have their way, their path cleared to Jannah, and they have the right means of communication with Allah. They prayed this azkar. They did this dua.
So with this dua in mind, Mariam Sulaiman, with this dua in mind about praying for the right spouse so you can get righteous or precious offspring to sprout, what then would you say you should look for in a husband?
First of all, looking at what you want in a man. Normally we go by looks, how rich he is, how he comes across, when the first thing you notice when you see him and stuff like that. But if you have this prayer in mind, God just gives you, putting this prayer in mind, and you have been observing it and it has become a conscious part of your life. It just comes like, this is your husband, and this is what you have been praying for, and I have put him right into your hands. And you find out that out of all your many options, you single that one person out, and you don't even care if there's a particular fault you find in him. This is what you
or you
want.
overlook his faults
Yes,
more
you
than you
overlook-
do those of the others.
Yes, I don't want to. Okay, you want to think this is the perfect person of your dream, but sometimes the perfect person of your dreams is not the person that is good for you. This also brings us back to praying and doing istikhara
Yes.
before
Thank you.
we actually make our choices. Because after the istikhara, what comes to you is what Allah wills.
Yes.
Even before the istikhara, sorry. But what you end up with is what Allah. Most marriages don't end as we want them to end, but we'll still have them as lessons to us, because there are things that happen to us right now in our lives that we go forward to see that those things were actually beneficial to us, even though at the time it happened, it was something that made us sad. It was something that, so that's as you mentioned, and then istikhara, which doesn't have to happen the way we want it,
Because there is
it
this,
happens the way
ayah.
Allah wants it. Istikhara doesn't have to come out with positivity at the time you want.
Yes, because
Everything
sometimes
comes-
you want
everything
something does
comes
not
as-
mean that and it's right for us.
Exactly.
There's Isaiah, where
So you find people telling you, because you have all these many options as men, or you have these little options as men. Maybe they're just 2, 3, or 5 that you have to just pick one from. You have to do istikhara. Then a lot of people make mistake that, okay, after all, before I picked this husband, that's when the marriage doesn't turn out to be what you want. I did istikhara and this happened and this happened. Istikhara also comes as lessons to us.
What do
Doesn't
you
have to-
say to young girls who are not as educated in terms of the deen, as some people are,
And some people
who do not understand what you mean by istikhara? They would love to learn, no doubt, but they do not understand the importance of istikhara, and they do not understand that you can actually pray for about anything. Or people who just tell you, look, I don't understand what you're talking about. Don't tell me about how to pray. Let's take the deen. Let's bring the deen down. Like, I want somebody who, I remember when I was in school, there were sisters.
Because
who would
true,
tell me,
true.
I want a soji brother.
Uh-huh.
I want
They want a
somebody,
lifty make in Drake's looks, Abby.
you know, I want somebody who he understands the deen, somebody who can teach me. You are not willing to learn, but somebody who can teach me, somebody who understands, who can read Sahih Bukhari, or who can read Bulugh al-Maram, Mahrami, and you know, all of those requirements, but are not ready to put in the work. Do you understand? What do you say to sisters like that? And they have to get married as well.
What I believe solely about marriages, sometimes it doesn't depend on what you do or what you don't do, because there are people that are not of good characters and they have gotten married.
Yes.
And there are
And they
people
go
that
on
are
to the
not
next.
of good character and they are very good Islamically.
Yes.
Whatever good
Exactly.
habits you can
Exactly.
associate to
And
them,
then-
you have them, and they
And
are
then
still
they
all
start
married.
with- Yes.
So I don't believe it has to be what you do to get a
No,
husband.
it's not about what you do. I'm saying,
It's such a
how do you
case.
help
No, that's
people
the-
like that who are not so in tune with the deen? How do you help them? How do you advise them to find their own spouses, their
Well,
own
it's
husbands?
such a
That
case.
is what I'm saying. You don't advise them to find that husband, because it doesn't matter now what you are, what you do, or what you don't do.
Okay.
It just, to me, that's my own opinion.
Yeah, go on.
It happens. It just happens. Marriage just happens.
But in such a case, what I
Without
would say,
seeking it.
what I would say,
You don't see.
that
There are
what you're
people that
looking for-
there are people that marry at very young age. They don't even understand what that marriage is. But they are married, and it's not as if they went to look for that husband.
Yes.
The husband came to them.
And they
there
felt
are
it
people,
was time and they said yes.
exactly, and there are people that would just be sitting at home and their parents would have made one commitment for them.
That is common in
Yes.
specific tribes. That's
Yes.
Not
And
that's
then-
not general. That's not a general thing.
I know, but that is what we are talking about: marriage, finding husband, and So to me, what I believe, it doesn't. Husbands,
Well, in the scenario Bakis has painted, what I would say is that if you want something, what you want, the characteristics, the features you want in a man, you consciously equip yourself with such values, with such morals,
Like people
with such
say,
knowledge
you can't be
and
asking
skills.
for an Abu Bakr when you're not ready to be an Aisha.
Yes, when you're asking for a Muhammad, be ready to be a Khadija.
But how about having
It
a
is also
Muhammad
important-
when you are not Khadija, and then changing after marriage to be that Khadija?
Well,
because
that
I
is
know there are a lot of people
question.
that have changed
Yes.
from whatever it is they were before they got married to something else.
They were
Something
willing to
better.
Yes, something better.
They were
there are people
willing.
that actually got married and got worse than they were.
And they were willing
So
to
it
change.
is- yes.
They were willing to change. You see, this thing is about mindset. Some people go into marriages with the aim that they want to grow, they want to progress, they want to add more and then gain more. You know, so in the process, when they are married to, that is why you see some men, they're not particular about, they belong to a particular creed, but they're not particular about getting married from that same creed because they believe that whoever they get married to, they can bring them in, they can train them, they can tutor them, they can inspire them to become the best version of themselves. So our intention is very, very important. If you are a woman who desires growth, you desire to change for better, you're not using your hijab yet. You're not even using a scarf like I am doing right now. But you know that you have passion for your deen. You love your partner. And then upon getting married, and then maybe your partner has a better understanding of the deen than you do. And upon getting married, you're open to that change because of the love, because of the submission, and because also you desire great change. It will be easy for you to become your Khadija.
You know, there are also so many young Muslim girls out there and young Muslim boys out there who are courting not Muslim boys and non-Muslim girls.
Yes.
And in most cases, when you ask the reason for this, they tell you things like, "We didn't find any," or
Yes.
I don't move.
get that a
I don't move in those circles, so it's hard for me to find somebody, or for me to mix with people in my religious in circles that are associated with my religion. So in most cases, they're swinging with people in school,
Yes.
people in the communities. If you're living in a community that's not largely dominated by Muslims,
Yes.
chances are the majority of your friends will be non-Muslims.
Why-
Particularly if you're not intentional about the friends you make. Even if you're
Yes.
intentional, yeah,
What I can
it can
bring
still
out
happen. Yeah.
from what you've said is that, we've talked about you making prayer prior to even you making the choice or
It's
decision.
important. You
We've
cannot
talked about
avoid
Istihara.
that
You
dua.
know, now
It's important.
it is also important the people you move with, the circle you belong to, the things you consume. All of these things are also equally important in finding or searching for or choosing or picking the right spouse. And it is important also, these are hadiths that they usually say, although it is more related to a man looking for a wife, that the Prophet ﷺ will say look for 4 things, but one, the faith is more important. When you're looking for a wife, that you look at her beauty. There are 4 things that men look at. They look at the beauty, they look at the family, they look at the wealth, and then
the
they
religion.
look at her home. The home she comes from,
And
her
that's the
background,
family,
her
no?
faith. Oh, okay, sorry, her faith rather. And
دينها
then the most
مالها
important too.
ومالها أهلها دينها
And then the
what's
most
the-
important thing, I think it's faith. Is
that's a deen.
Yes, the most important thing is the deen. This same thing applies to the women.
To the men.
No, to the women. If you are looking for a spouse, fine, we have this unrealistic view sometimes. We also have to be realistic. This is the fourth point. The first is that you do your dua right way before. The second is you do your istihara, because perhaps you want something and that thing is not good for you. So you commit it onto Allah's hands. And then thirdly is the people you move with, the circle you belong to, the things you consume. The books you read, the movies you watch, these things make you have unrealistic view. You want a tall, dark, and handsome. You want this. You want a mufti. You want a part mufti man and soji brother. Part mufti man and part Drake or part. So all of these things, and it is important to have realistic views.
Expectations.
And don't just look at. It is okay to have. To desire someone that is rich. They'll be able to take care of you. It is okay to desire someone that is good looking. But all of these things, to me, I believe are secondary. The most important thing is the godliness. But someone asked me something once: do women really want godly men? Because
well, I do.
Are you sure?
They will never go out of fashion. What?
So
how will my kids
this
be
person
raised?
asked me that question was because you, as a woman, you were praying for a godly man. If your man used to be a soji guy, like everywhere, and then suddenly becomes more godly, and then you're looking at, no, this is not the person I got married to. Because you prefer that lifestyle where you can just,
Trust me, one thing that's hard for people to understand is the fact that a man who understands the deen, like really understands the deen and practices it,
out of fashion,
is a whole lot more romantic than the one who doesn't.
Of course.
A gangster kind of husband at home.
We have the lessons from the lifestyle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there's enough to teach you that you have to take care of your wife in all ways possible. You have to ensure that she's always happy. You have to ensure that you play with her. We see the way the Prophet sallallahu used to play with Aisha. So all of these things, that is what I do agree with you. But what I am saying is that, like you have said, sometimes you don't want this, everywhere,
sometimes you want what's not good for you. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of today's episode of Tea at Sahur. But like Mariam, I'll let you have one last word, one last sentence. Yeah, you want to say something earlier?
I've raised all the points. The most important thing: pray, do your istikhara. Do not let your heart too attached to that thing, because perhaps you might want something, you might like something, and that thing is not good for you, and perhaps you detest something and that thing is the best for you.
Wallahi, that's the truth. And it's a wrap. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
May Allah give us the best of understanding to get the right spouse. And those of us that we're already in marriage, may Allah put His barakah. And those who are still looking for the right spouse, may Allah make it easy for you. Allahumma ameen. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the understanding of this deen and bless us with all we need, mashallah. Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. Abdul Lateef Abdul-Hakim, and that's where we wrap it up on the show today, inshallah. Tomorrow promises to be more informing, educating, and entertaining. Keep it with us and keep sending your messages. Let's continue this conversation online, inshallah. May Allah make it easy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.